Many people enjoy reading murder mysteries because they are puzzles. Can we guess the murderer's name before the detective tells us at the end of the book? Was the broken chair an accident, or is it an important clue? How did the murderer get into the house? Did he or she have a key? Why were there 3 coffee cups on the table? Agatha Christie's murder mysteries are famous all over the world. She wrote more than 70 books, and they have sold millions of copies. There have been many television plays and films of her stories. Her detectives, Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, are famous too. A short, round Belgian with a black mustache, and a dear little old lady who sees, hears, and remembers everything. This is a story about Agatha Christie's life. What kind of person was she? How much do we know about her? She was rich, famous, and twice married. And there was a mystery in her life, too. Agatha Mary Clarissa Miller was bored. It was a winter morning in 1908, and she was in bed because she was ill. "I'm feeling much better today," she said to her mother, Clara. "I think I'll get up." "You're still ill," said Clara. "The doctor told you to stay in bed and keep warm. And that's what you're going to do." Agatha was 18 years old at this time, but in those days daughters had to do what their mothers told them. "But I'm bored." "Well, do something then," said her mother. "Read a book, or write a story." "Yes. Why don't you write stories?" "Write story," said Agatha, surprised. "Yes," her mother said. "Like Madge." Madge was Agatha's sister. She was 11 years older than Agatha, and sometimes wrote short stories for magazines like Vanity Fair. "I don't think that I can write stories," said Agatha. "How do you know?" said her mother. "You've never tried." And she went to find a pencil and paper. Soon after, Agatha sat up in bed and began to write a story. It was called House of Beauty, a strange story about dreams. It wasn't a very good story. She typed it on Madge's old typewriter and sent it off to a magazine. But they sent it back with a letter. "Thank you for sending us your story. We are afraid we cannot publish it. You must try again," said her mother. Clara was always sure that her daughters could do anything. So Agatha went on writing stories and sending them out to magazines, but they all came back. She was a little disappointed. "I'll try writing a novel," she decided. An idea came to her. She remembered seeing a beautiful young girl in a hotel in Cairo when she was visiting Egypt with Clara. The girl was always with 2 men, one on each side of her. One day, Agatha heard someone say, "That girl will have to make her decision between them sometime." It was all that Agatha needed for an idea, and she began writing. It was not a detective novel. It was the story of a young woman in Egypt, and it was called Snow Upon the Desert. It was really 2 long stories put together to make a book. When it was finished, Agatha sent it to 3 or 4 publishers, but they all sent it back. "Oh dear," said Agatha. "What shall I do now?" "Why don't you show it to Eden Phillpotts?" said Clara. Eden Phillpotts was a writer who lived near the Millers. During his life, he wrote more than 100 popular novels and many plays for the theater. Agatha was a little afraid of sending her novel to this famous man, but she agreed to do it and sent it off. Mr. Phillpotts was a good writer and also a kind man. He read Agatha's novel carefully and wrote her a letter. Some of your writing is very good, so I am sending you a letter to take to my agent, Hughes Massey. Agatha, still only 18 years old, went to London on the train. It was a long journey, more than 200 miles from her home in Torquay, in Devon, and the trains were not so fast in those days. She was very shy, and Hughes Massey was a big, frightening man. Agatha gave him the letter from Eden Philpotts. Massey read it, talked with Agatha for a while, then kept her book to read. Agatha went home to wait. Some months later, Massey returned snow upon the desert to her. I do not think that I can find a publisher for it, he wrote to her. The best thing is to stop thinking about it any more and to write another book. Agatha was disappointed. She did write another book, but some other important things happened in her life first. Agatha's father, Frederick, died in 1901 when Agatha was 11 years old. He was an American and was 10 years older than Clara. After he died, Clara began to travel a lot and often took Agatha with her. In 1911, when Agatha was 21, Clara was ill. You need to go somewhere warm and sunny to get better, Clara's doctor told her. So Clara decided to go to Egypt again, and she took Agatha with her. They stayed in a hotel in Cairo. There were some English soldiers staying near the hotel, and they often came to the hotel dances. Agatha was a shy young woman, but she loved to dance. During her stay in Cairo, she went to 50 dances. She met a lot of exciting young men and had a wonderful time. When she came back to England, she was soon getting invitations to garden parties, tennis parties, dances, and to country houses for the weekend. Then a young army officer called Reggie Lucy came home from Hong Kong. Agatha was a friend of Reggie's 3 sisters and often played tennis with them. But she did not know Reggie. He was a very shy young man who did not go out very much. He liked to play golf, but did not like parties or dances. I like to play golf, but I'm not very good at it, Agatha said when she met him. I could help you, said Reggie shyly. He had dark hair and brown eyes. Agatha liked him. So, while Reggie was in England, he and Agatha played golf nearly every day. One very warm day they played golf for a little while. Then Agatha said, "I'm hot, Reggie. Shall we have a rest?" They sat under a tree, out of the sun, and talked. Then suddenly Reggie said, "I want to marry you, Agatha. Did you know that? Perhaps you did. But you are still very young, and—" "No, I'm not," said Agatha. "Not very young." "Of course, a pretty girl like you could marry anybody," said Reggie. "I don't think I want to marry anybody," Agatha said. Yes, I think I'd like to marry you." "I have to go back to Hong Kong in 10 days' time," said Reggie, "and I'll be there for 2 years. But when I come back, if there isn't anybody—" "There won't be anybody," said Agatha. So Reggie went back to Hong Kong. Agatha wrote letters to him, and he wrote to her. It was all agreed. When Reggie came home again, they would get married on October 12th, 1912, when Agatha was 22. She went to a dance at the home of Lord and Lady Clifford. They lived near Chudley, 12 miles from Torquay, and there were many young people there for Agatha to talk to. During the evening, a young army officer came up to her. "Will you dance with me?" he asked Agatha. "Me," said Agatha. Oh, yes, all right. He was tall and good-looking, with friendly blue eyes, and his name was Archibald Christie. Agatha liked him immediately. They danced together many times that evening, and Archie told her his plans. "I want to fly," he said, "and I'm trying to get into the Royal Flying Corps." "How exciting," said Agatha. A week later, she was having tea with some friends at a house opposite Ashfield, her home, when there was a telephone call for her. It was her mother. "Come home, will you, Agatha?" said Clara. "There's a young man here. He's just arrived, and I'm giving him tea. I don't know him, and I think he wants to see you." Agatha had to leave her friends and hurry home, so she was not very pleased. But when she got home, she found Archie Christie waiting for her. "Hello," he said. "I was in Torquay, and I thought that perhaps it would be nice to see you." His face was red, and he looked at his shoes. Agatha smiled. Archie stayed for the rest of the afternoon, and for supper that evening. When it was time for him to leave, he said, "Will you come to a concert in Exeter with me, Agatha? We can go to the Red Cliff Hotel for tea after the concert." "I'd love to," said Agatha, then looked at Clara. "Can I, Mother?" "A concert, yes, Agatha," said Clara. "But tea at a hotel?" "No, I don't think so. Not a hotel. Perhaps I could take Agatha to tea in the restaurant at Exeter Railway Station," said Archie. Agatha tried not to smile, but her mother agreed. So Agatha and Archie went to the concert, and then had tea at Exeter Railway Station. "There's a New Year's dance in Torquay on the 2nd of January, said Agatha, when Archie took her home later. "Will you come?" He smiled. "Of course," he said. "I want to see you as often as I can." But when Archie came to the New Year's dance, he was very quiet and did not seem happy. He seemed to be worried about something, but Agatha said nothing. 2 days later, on the 4th of January, 1913, they went to another concert together. Archie was still very quiet, and after the concert Agatha asked, "What's wrong, Archie?" "The Royal Flying Corps have said yes to me," said Archie. "I have to leave Exeter in 2 days' time. I have to go to Salisbury." He looked at her. "Agatha, you've got to marry me. There will never be anyone for me. Only you. I've known that since our first evening together at the Cliffords' dance." Agatha was very surprised. But I can't marry you. I've already told Reggie that I'll marry him." And then she told him about Reggie Lucy. "You didn't marry him before he went away," said Archie. "Why not?" "It's because you don't really love him." "We thought it was better to wait," began Agatha. "I won't wait," said Archie. "I want to marry you next month, or the month after." "We can't," said Agatha. "We haven't got any money. How will we live?" But she did want to marry Archie. "Archie has asked me to marry him, and I want to. I want to very much," she told her mother. Clara was very surprised. "You must wait," she told them both. "I like you, Archie, but you are only 23 years old, and neither of you has any money." So Archie went to Salisbury, and he and Agatha waited. Agatha wrote to Reggie Lucy. It was a difficult letter to write, but Reggie wrote a very kind letter back to her. "Don't worry about it," he told her. "I understand." In August 1914, England was suddenly at war with Germany. Archie went to France with the Royal Flying Corps, and Agatha went to work as a volunteer nurse at the Torbay Hospital in Torquay. Archie came back to England for 5 days in December, and Agatha went up to London to meet him. Then the two of them went down to Bristol, where Archie's mother lived. They could not wait any longer. They wanted to get married. Archie's mother was not happy about this, but Clara thought differently. "Yes, get married now," she said. "There's a war on. Who knows what will happen? Be happy while you can." So Agatha and Archie were married at last on the 24th of December, 1914. 2 days later, Archie went back to the war, and Agatha did not see him again for 6 months. During the summer of 1915, Agatha was ill and could not do any nursing work at the hospital for 3 or 4 weeks. Then, when she returned, she went to work in the hospital dispensary. And here she learned something which was very useful for a writer of detective stories. She learned about poisons.